Hey guys, this is Mel, and I'm back to talk about Arrow. 3 episodes this time. We got 7-11 titled Past Sins, 7-12 Emerald Archer, 7-13 Star City Slayer, and they were all premiering on January 28th, February 4th, and February 11th of 2019. It is around 11:30 that I'm recording after 7-13 has aired, so it's still been a few hours. Finally able to record this, and boy, a lot was learned in this episode, and rightfully so, because this is the one that they leave us on a cliffhanger for 2 weeks. So anyways, I'm going to try to do this 3 episode recap in 30 minutes. Hopefully I can give 10 minutes each per episode, but let's start the clock and let's see what happened in these episodes. So it's going to be slightly different than what I would usually do, like their individual recaps, but hopefully it still gives you the gist of what happened in the 3. So with the main plot reminders that I distinctly picked up for the 3, for 7-11, I would say it's haunting sins of the past, both literally the people from their past coming to kind of wreak havoc in the present, but it's not people we've seen from the past. Well, for some of them, but I'll get back to it. For 7-12, the main plot reminder would be the fact that this was set up as a vigilante documentary. So we do have it a bit stylized differently. So that's one key point there. And for 7-13, I'd say the main plot reminder is just dealing with a serial killer that's wreaking havoc on the city. So there is that. But most shocking moments of the episodes, I will say that at 7-11, most shocking I have written down is the moment where Diaz killed Curtis. He snapped his neck in the simulation before it was revealed that it was a simulation. So that surprised me there. I had me questioning whether or not Curtis was leaving the show that way or not. So glad he survived that. So that was a big shocker there. For 7-12, the most shocking moment of the episode was just all the different familiar faces we got in this documentary styled episode. They really treated it. They brought back footage from all different parts of the series. They brought characters back from different seasons that we maybe haven't seen in a very long time, or we just haven't seen them recently, which I will mention later on if you can guess where. So there's that. And for 7-13, I'll give 2 just because it is the episode I just watched a few hours ago. The first shocker is the fact that inmate Stanley is the Star City Slayer, the one doing all these serial killings and stuff. And then another shocking moment is that Black Star, played by Kat McNamara, she revealed herself to be Mia Smoke, the daughter of Oliver and Felicity and the half-brother of William. So there is that. So moving on to storylines, though. So I won't go too much into detail. Hopefully we'll see where I ramble on to. But for 7-11, I got 3 different storylines. First one being the Ghost Initiative story with Argus. That's pretty much Suicide Squad 2.0. This one is where you see the return of China White, Carrie Cutter, Joe Wilson, a.k.a. Kane Wolfman, and of course Ricardo Diaz, but who cares about him? So we do see those 3 familiar faces again in that storyline with Diego Curtis and Lila. In the second storyline, though, it deals with Oliver's past, specifically with Sam Hackett, who was the son of the bodyguard that Robert Queen had killed on the raft. So there's that. And the third storyline deals with Laurel's past, which goes into even more detail about the cause behind her father's death back on Earth 2, and a little bit more like why it's haunted her so much and why she believes it's coming back to haunt her again. So there's that. With 7-12, the storylines I picked up were 3 again. The first one being the documentary setup on the vigilantes, how it's really meta in the sense that you see cameras picking up footage of Team Arrow being vigilantes, interviewing them and such, and then you also see former characters also being interviewed about the same thing. So you get that. You get old. It was stylized in the sense that it looked like I'm actually watching a documentary about it, not just an episode of an episode of them recording it type thing, if that makes sense. So there's that. And then it kind of reels that back from the documentary for these two other storylines. The second one being vigilantes are being targets for a new exo killer, or killer in a suited up exoskeleton. So there's that. The third one being William's return home, which is very fraught with tensions and anger and stuff. So there is that. But all three storylines are incorporated in the documentary type style. So there's that. Now, with the 713 storylines, I really only picked up on two of them. The major one was with the Star City Killer, or Star City Slayer, I should say, trying to figure out who he is, why he's targeting Team Arrow, and then coming to find out that it's Stanley, and trying to protect Oliver in his twisted ways. So there is that. And then the second storyline is pretty much Oliver and Felicity going against William's grandparents, who revealed that they're going to be fighting custody for William, because that's what William wants. He wants a normal life. So he kind of called in his grandparents as backup instead of actually like hashing it out with his parents. Instead, it's kind of like going behind their backs type of thing. So there's that. But for flashbacks, I will say this: for 7-Eleven, we do get a brief bit of a flashback in the form of Oliver's first conversation with Emiko. This was the last scene in 710, and then it immediately cut to Oliver and Laurel doing the interview broadcasts, and then it had like flashbacks back to Oliver's conversation with Emiko. So it was like a week or so in between the present day and those flashbacks, but you get Oliver trying to convince Emiko to give him a chance, and then it's in the events of the episode where she finally becomes open to the idea of talking to Oliver, or being open to the idea of giving him a chance, or just like being a part of her life in some which way. So there's that. With 712, the flashbacks, I would say, would mainly come from archive footage, a lot of like old footage, maybe shot in a different way, or maybe vantage shots, or first-person camera shots of certain events that happened in the past, or just different versions of something that happened back then that weren't revealed in the actual episode itself. So for all we know, it could have been deleted scenes or something. So it was very nostalgic of like the journey that has happened for vigilantes over the last 7 years. So there's that. With 713, though, there were no flashbacks. So cut dry right there. Okay, main tidbits, though. For 7-Eleven, the main tidbit I would say is the fact that the episode was directed by David Ramsey, a.k.a. John Diggle. So there is that, and of course he gets the focus of the Ghost Initiative, aka Suicide Squad 2.0. So there's that. 712's main tidbit is the fact that this is the 150th episode. It's kind of why they did the whole vigilante documentary style thing. So to kind of make it its own little mile marker thing. Also a fun fact is the week that this episode aired, on February 4th, it was also the same week that Supernatural aired its 300th episode. So that was something there. Also, the documentary style that the episode took place in, Supernatural also did that with Ghostfacers back in season 3. So just 11 years ago. Just a little heads up there. So there's that. Now, tidbits for 713. I have a lot more than just one. So we do get a cameo in this episode of Captain Singh of the Central City Police Department when he's on the phone with Dinah. So there's that. We also get a comment about Laurel being away in DC for conferences, so she doesn't appear in the episode. We also have a comment about Oliver making the greatest chili. Supposedly it's William's favorite. Oliver and Felicity love it, so well, of course Oliver does. It's his own food, but anyways, so there's that. We also see Felicity teaching William the little Rubik's Cube trick that we saw him in the future kind of put to use again. Another thing is that in this episode, in the present day, is where we see Dinah getting her throat slit by Stanley, which is the reason why she has that big scar across her neck in the future segments. So at least we got the origin story for that. Though it's still up in the air about whether or not that affected her canary cry, or because we know she talks in the flash forwards. We just don't know if she has her power still. So there's that. Another tidbit is the fact that Curtis was offered a position to be the head of the science department at Argus when he contemplated about leaving the organization, but ultimately he decided to take the job offer he had in DC. This episode, because of that, this episode marks Curtis's last episode as a series regular. There's even articles now being released about Echo Callum's departure from the show being confirmed, how he'll come back for, it's not the end of Mr. Terrific, but for now we're not going to see him every week. So there's that. I'm not surprised by it, because like I kind of wondered, since that whole simulated kill that they did of Curtis in 7-Eleven, but just to have it confirmed was still a little shocking today to find out, because he does come up with a lot of great tech that we saw. Like one of the tech devices he had did save Dinah's life, or at least prolonged her condition until help came. So there's that. But another tidbit was the fact that Felicity finds out that she's pregnant in the present day from Dr. Schwartz. I believe it's the last scene of the present day that we see. So that's like a cliffhanger there. It's implied because like Felicity's on the phone with the doctor. She's holding her stomach, or she's holding like where her middle of her sternum, maybe, I think. And she's like, "I'm what?" And then it cuts to the flash forward where it was revealed that Mia or Black Star was actually Felicity's daughter. So there was that. But moving on to top favorite moment, I definitely narrowed this down a lot better than I did with tidbits. But with 7-Eleven, I did have my top favorite moment being the Felicity and Laurel team up, the dynamic between the two of them. I definitely love this version of Laurel with Felicity a lot better for some reason, or maybe it's just the contrast between the two of them that is what I like. But I definitely liked how Felicity wanted to be there for Laurel, and how she wanted her to open up and like have the relief of just talking something out and being like having that support. So that was a great partnership there. For 7-12, my favorite has to be all the familiar faces we got to see throughout the documentary setup, through the interviews. I mean, we got Barry Allen in the present day. We got Quentin Lance back in 2014 footage. We got Sarah Lance again. I don't remember if there's a date attached to it. We got Thea Queen again. We got Roy Harper, though they did make it look like it was during his arrest that they got footage for it. So I don't know specifically if they brought him in to like reshoot that type of a scenario and just did it from the different camera angle. If they had done it originally in season 3 and then they just kept it in the vault for use later. So there's that. There's also Cindy, aka Sin, the girl that was always attached to Sarah in season 2 and who was friends with Roy. She made a cameo too, so that was a surprise. I kind of forgot about her, to be honest. I did like her character in season 2, but now I'm wondering like what's going on now. Was her interview in the present day? Does she know about Sarah being alive and stuff? Like, I don't know. And then we do get Rory Reagan, the one who has like the magic rags that were at season 5. So we do get him again. So there's that. Although, yeah, so it was great to see all of them again. Also in the episode, it was great to see Team Arrow working together again as an official team. First time they've done it this season since Oliver was, well, since they all had to be disbanded since vigilantes are illegal. So it was just great to see the team working side by side with each other once again. So that was fantastic and a favorite there. And for 7-13, my favorite would have to be the future scenes, the flash forwards, specifically the fight scene in the old Arrow bunker. It was just very cool to see Roy going up against Connor, and then Dinah going up against Mia, and just seeing the skill that all the older generation had against the newer generation. And then I don't remember if Zoe joined in or not, or if she just kind of got stuck being tied to a chair. But the fight scene was pretty cool, and just to have it in the setup that it was very interesting. So there's that. Top peeve though, let's move on to that. For 7-11, what I had is the fact that initially I thought Diaz escaped. Yes, later it turned out that it was just a simulation, but in that moment when it was happening, I was so pissed that he was escaping just when they had him in custody. I mean, it took them so long just to get him in custody, and now he's just going to escape because of a technicality that they had for him. It's like, they should have done more. I was like, they should have done more security. They should have just had him strapped, metal straps for him down if they were going to take the bombs offline and stuff that were in their head. It's just so many things, but I'm glad it was just a simulation. It definitely had me going for a while, but it's still a peeved idea that happened. For 7-12, though, the peeve I have written is the fact that Mayor Emily Pollard arrested Team Arrow. I mean, they just saved the city's ass once again by the exoskeleton killer, and yet as a reward, she arrests them. I mean, it's like, really? It's like, they just saved your butt and this is the thanks they get? I mean, later on, she takes it all back and gives Dinah permission to deputize the team like they did with Oliver. But still, that was like such a crap thank you for them, right? So it's like, ugh. Also, I forgot, it was revealed Dinah actually exposed herself as a black canary in 7-12 as well, which is something of that she has to deal with in 7-13. But anyways, P for 7-13. Now this is one I have, is the fact that William claims that he'll have a normal life with his grandparents. It's what he's always wanted. But yet what pisses me off is the fact that he believes that's true. I mean, no way. Now that Oliver has been outed as the Green Arrow, and everyone knows that William is Oliver's son, he's a target no matter where he goes. At school, people knew he was the Green Arrow's son. So, like, unless they, like, change cities and change his name and, like, put him in witness protection, he's always going to be labeled as the Green Arrow's son. So he's always going to be in danger. So I don't get how him going to his grandparents' house is going to be any more normal. Maybe behind closed doors it will be normal, but like if anything were to happen, if an enemy of Oliver's were to come after William when he's with his grandparents, there's no one there to protect him. There's no one there to save him. Like if he were to still be with Oliver and Felicity, at least immediately in that moment, you know Oliver's going to protect him. He's going to do everything he can to make sure nothing happens to William. If he's stuck with his grandparents, there's no protection there. There's no one, like, and then when it happens, it could be hours later before Oliver finds out, or like hours before he gets to whatever crime scene there is, right? So it really pissed me off that William was taking out all this anger, and yet he believes, like, he was arguing about the fact that he wasn't home, and yet once he was home, he wanted to get away once again because it wasn't what he wanted, type of thing. It really pissed me off. The kid was really, really bugging me. So it's just like, ugh. Like, I get it. He's a kid. There's some things he just doesn't understand. But at the same time, it's like, really? Can you not think of the bigger picture? So it's like, yeah. At least he thought of the bigger. I did appreciate the fact that he was aware that he still did not want Oliver to give up being a hero. That he still knew that the city needed the Green Arrow. So I do appreciate that. It's just a little stupid for him to think that he's going to have a normal life in Central City, where pretty much picking out where he left off with his old life with his mom, yet everyone's going to know that he's Oliver's queen's son. Everyone's going to know that he's the Green Arrow's son. So it's like, you're not really getting a normal life. You're just going back to your old life with people not knowing who you actually are. So, or who you're actually connected to. So that was a huge peeve that I had a few hours ago. It's still sticking with me now. So there's that. But moving on to the flash forward updates, more specifically, we'll go into that. So there weren't any flash forwards in 7-11 because, well, quite frankly, there was the flashbacks with Oliver and Emiko, so that makes sense. So with 7-12, though, there was the flash forward of the fact that we find Mia and Connor Hawk finding the old abandoned Team Arrow bunker. Though it's more exposed to nature now as opposed to before, but it definitely doesn't look like it's been fixed and updated since Adrian Chase had blown it up. Or was it Ricardo Diaz? One of the two had blown it up. So there's that. But 7-13, there's a huge focus on the flash forwards, and that is the fact that we do find out this is the one that they have actually named officially that Connor is actually Connor Hawk, aka John Diggle Jr. And Dinah's the one who recognizes him and reminds Roy, like, you know who this is. And we first originally met Connor Hawk not in 712, but actually in episode 106 of Legends of Tomorrow. In the flash forward, he was actually the Green Arrow in that future. Also, there's the future where an older Oliver had a missing arm and he was living in the old bunker. So I don't know if that's the same future as this future, but it is the same actor who plays Connor Hawk. So that's good continuity there. But it does seem like him and Mia are close, rightfully so, considering that's Diggle's son and that is Oliver's daughter. So there's that. Also, again, we do find out in this episode that not only is Black Star Mia Smoke, but we do find out that Felicity is actually alive and Mia is trying to find her, and she wants to use the Archer program to do that. So there's that there. For Green Arrow updates, it's not that many, but now that we know that it's Emiko underneath the green hood, it's kind of like the update is more skewed towards like her finding her own answers in regards to her mom's murder. So with 7-Eleven, we do see Emiko considering to talk to Oliver after hearing his confession about their father's last moments on the raft during the broadcast interview. So it's more of like her coming to the realization of whether or not she should let Oliver in or not, while she grew up with the impression that the Queen family were toxic. In 712, we do have Diggle, Renee, and Dinah discovering that not only is the new Green Arrow Emiko, but she's also Oliver's half-sister. Also, there's a question of whether or not the documentary crew actually got footage of her without the hood or not, or whether or not they're going to broadcast that or not, or if they scrub that footage for security purposes. But they did find her when she was injured and without her mask, so that's a question there. And then for 713, she wasn't featured at all, so she didn't pop up anywhere. So there's that. Now, random questions. So I did have one from 7-Eleven, and it was the fact that did Curtis quit Argus? Technically, that was answered in 713 when he confirmed that he's leaving not only Argus but the show itself. So that answered itself there. But from 712, I did have a few questions. First one being, if William was expelled from school, then where has he been this whole time when Olicity thought he was still in boarding school? So that's a question there. Another question is, if Diggle couldn't get a hold of Rory Reagan or Helena Bertinelli, does that mean that they could have been killed by that exoskeleton killer fan that was targeting them? So there's that question there. Another question was, did anyone get the impression that Mayor Pollard had hired that exoskeleton killer fan just to push the vigilantes into a corner and then have them arrested? As if like putting the city in such a dire situation that only the vigilantes could stop it, therefore they had to come out in hiding and put themselves in a position where they could get arrested. I felt like she was behind that whole setup because they were also having that anti-vigilante debate, and then he attacks there, and it just seemed like that was too much of a setup because like she was forcing Oliver to go there, which is what the target was, and it's just like, I don't know. I don't like her at all. So there's that. And another question for 712 was the fact that why weren't the vigilantes wearing body cameras instead of allowing the camera crew for the documentary into the fight zones, like into the field? Like they were talking about how like, no, we need this footage, we knew the risks when we signed up for it, and then like they agreed, so then you get like camera footage of like different views of like fight scenes and stuff like that, and like you see like the frontline dangers type of thing. But then the whole time I'm watching, I'm like, well, why the hell aren't the vigilantes wearing body cameras? Like, cops do that nowadays, so why aren't the vigilantes wearing their own body cameras, just so like it provides personal perspective that way, but also it doesn't put non-trained personnel in the field? Like, why risk the camera crew like that? Like, really? That was like more of like, what the hell are you doing type of moment for me. So there's that. So 713, I did have 3 questions. First one being, if Mia is Oliver and Felicity's daughter, then why does she seem so angry at them or the fate that befell them, or the fate I'm assuming befell them? because she definitely, when she found the documentary footage in 712 in the future, the same one that they were showing the whole episode, and then she saw at the very end, it was like she see it. It gave me the impression that she agreed with whatever had happened to them. Is like, she said like they got what they deserved, and I was just like wondering if like that's your family, then why the hell are you thinking that? Like, what the hell happened to make it come to that? So that's a question there. Another question is, did William know that he had a half-sister, or did he never meet her at all recently to know like what she looks like growing up? So there's that. That's also another peeve that I missed too, is the fact that the timing of Felicity finding out that she's pregnant pisses me off, because the moment that they're saying goodbye to William so that he can go live with his grandparents, she gets the phone call telling her that she's pregnant. So it felt more like you're losing one kid, but you're placing it with another one. So it's like, because of the timing of William leaving home, and his reaction to her in the future, where he's shocked that she's Felicity's daughter and his half-sister, I'm wondering if he ever knew she existed to begin with, right? Or like, did they keep that a secret from him, or did they keep the pregnancy a secret, or did he know he had a half-sister but he just never met her? Was it like an Emiko situation or something? Like, I don't know, but like their reunion in the future was something, because she definitely seemed like she was surprised when she found out that he was Oliver's son, but then it's like a very twist of like a dark turn between them. It's like, I don't know. I really don't know. But now that you find out that she is their child, it's like, that's even more badass than ever, because then like, do you know who trained her to fight as well as she did then? That means, I'm assuming it was Team Arrow. It's definitely Oliver. It's got to be. I don't want to think that they're both dead or anything like that. But yeah. So there's that. Last question though for 713 before I ramble completely off topic, is the fact that, do you believe that Oliver will ever have a normal life, especially after he has unmasked himself as the Green Arrow? I feel like he has to definitely be on guard like 24/7 now. Now that people know that who he is under the hood. As before, it was just more like, well, I guess he kind of never was going to have a normal life, because he was Oliver Queen, part of a billionaire reputation type thing. So he's always going to have threats that way. And then with him becoming the mayor and such, him being a survivor of the Queen's Gambit, and then him having his vigilante enemies. So it's only when he was in the hood he had to worry about those people. When he was as Oliver, he used to worry about a separate set of people. Now that he's unmasked, he now has all that combined. So it's like, it feels like he has to be on guard 24/7, and I'm wondering, would he ever have a normal life that way? Or I should say, what he would deem as a normal life now for him. Because his version of a normal life might not be someone else's version of a normal life, right? So there's that. But moving on very quickly to predictions of pretty much for episode 714, it's returning March 4th, so we're going to get 2 weeks of hiatus. Don't know why now of all times they're doing it, but anyways, it did show Oliver and Felicity finding out that Diaz is in Argus custody. They're not too pleased about it, and lots of stuff showed up. But the another thing I picked up on the fact is that Felicity is held at gunpoint by Diaz in the woods. I don't know if it's specifically the way that they cut the episode, that scene together, or if it truly is her at gunpoint by Diaz. And if that's the case, that means Diaz escaped, and I'm just like not thrilled to see that at all. So there's that. But there is no synopsis for the episode just yet, just because it is still over 2 weeks before it airs. Usually they only give 2 weeks ahead notice. So there's that. Maybe later on in the week they'll have something. But yeah, but they did announce, since the last time I did a video, on January 31st, they did announce that Arrow was renewed for another season, so we'll be turning season 8. It was kind of implied during the crossover event when it said Fall 2019 Crisis on Infinite Earths. The fact that you put that title up kind of already puts out the assumption that, oh, these shows are getting picked up again for another season. But it was just great to get like the official confirmation that we're getting season 8. We're also getting another season for all the other Arrowverse shows. So there is that. But otherwise, guys, that is pretty much it. What do you guys think of these 3 episodes? What do you guys like about it? What do you think is going to happen next? Let me know in the comments down below. Love to hear your thoughts, theories, and predictions about all that. Also, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to my channel, check out my other videos if you haven't done so already. If you want, check out my Tumblr page. The link for that is down below. I read blog promos, web clips, quotes, gifs, synopses, news, all the good stuff, all found in one place. Go check that out. I'm going to catch up in the 2 weeks, so be on the lookout. WordPress account, link for that is down below. Everything I post online is connected to WordPress, so more organized, more detailed. Still a work in progress, though. Another thing to work on in the next 2 weeks. So there's that. But otherwise, guys, that is pretty much it. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you so much for your patience. I hope you come back in 2 weeks to see what I have to say about the next episode, or I might chunk it up again. I haven't decided yet. It's based on the scheduling on when they are released. So we'll see about that. But otherwise, guys, that is pretty much it. So this is Mel. Wish you a great day, great week wherever you are. And there's the timer. Bye for now.